Good afternoon. This is Gail Anderson, and this is Mentoring Moments for Moms. I'm here with my husband Kirby again today. Yay!
Hey, everybody.
Getting his input is always a huge bonus. Hello, everyone. Glad to have you joining us. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. Appreciate hearing from all of you too. Questions you're sending in, that is awesome. We'll be getting some new topics over the next few weeks. My email's in the profile, so be in contact with me. Let me know how you like what we're doing and what you'd like to hear more about. Also in the profile is the link to our blog, which is at kirbyanderson.com. So you can contact us through that, and there's lots and lots of blogs to look at. So I hope you'll go there and check out all the writing that we've done, and that it'll be a blessing to you. So this afternoon, we are going to be talking about the love and respect element in marriage. This is kind of a hard one sometimes for me to talk about because it was a huge eye-opener. But because it was, I want to be able to share that with all of you so that you can hopefully get a leg up and miss some of the things that I did. If you like what we're talking about, please share this broadcast, let your friends know about it, and tap on the screen, give us some hearts so so that we know you like what we're talking about. My experience, especially with the love and respect part, was that I expected there to be unconditional love between both of us. I unconditionally love him. He unconditionally loves me. Where I ran into problems was especially after we started pastoring our own church. And he was working so hard at this little church, and it was far away. We weren't able to communicate during the day. A lot of times he had to stay and do counseling. And so I felt like he really was letting things down on the home front in our marriage as well as in our family. So I got to the place. I wasn't quite to the place of contempt, but I definitely did not respect him as a husband and as a father. And that presented some really big problems in our relationship. Do you want to?
I'd change your attitude.
Definitely. It affected how I treated him on a regular basis. And I think the big thing for me was I felt like respect needed to be earned, and he had not earned it. I loved him unconditionally. That's expected in a marriage, but I did not respect him. And the whole idea of unconditional respect was not something that was familiar to me, even though it was biblical. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
Well, and it doesn't mean that there wasn't a problem. It wasn't your attitude. It just meant it was a struggle. It was something that needed to be discussed. But these are things that are common to most couples at some point in time. And the whole thing behind love and respect, it really came out to us. Can I go ahead and just share the
please.
book? So It really came from a book that we came across later on in our marriage. A guy by the name of Emerson Eggerichs, another pastor, and he wrote a book called Love and Respect. And it emanated from the passage in Ephesians chapter 5. And towards the end of that, in verse 33, it says, "So again I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." And he developed this whole book on this issue of love and respect, and that is really at the core of so many of the conflicts that we have. In fact, he described it as the crazy cycle. And every one of us knows, if you've been married any length of time at all, we all know what the crazy cycle is. And basically what it boils down to is this, is that a wife has, one of her greatest needs is to be loved and to feel loved. For a guy, it tends to be one of respect, of admiration. And we know how to push each other's buttons on those things. So it doesn't make any difference who starts the crazy cycle. It always ends up the same way. A husband can be pressured and come in and be very curt and say something that sounds unloving, whether it was intentional or not. The wife feels unloved, and so immediately she comes up with something and rolls her eyes, and it seems disrespectful. Well, that tweaks him a little bit, so he gets all upset and says something else that's even more unloving. She cuts him off at the knees, with some kind of thing that has to do with respect for him and making him feel demeaned and belittled. And this goes exponential, just really fast. It blows up and it goes nowhere. And you've all been there too many
But we
times.
don't ever do this anymore.
Not anymore. But that was the crazy cycle. And I think the reason for this is because, as we've understood it, most women tend to get, and I'm not going to, don't anybody get all up in arms about this, but it just seems that most women have a great need for feeling loved.
Yes.
And that they get a lot of their self-worth from the relationships that they have, and particularly with their husband. So it's very important. And a guy tends to get his sense of self-worth and identity from the things that he does, and he wants to be respected and admired for those things. So these are huge needs. And when we come across as unloving or as disrespectful, it sets things off into the crazy cycle. And we need to know how to break that.
Absolutely.
Or head it off at the pass.
Yeah,
preemptive.
the whole fact that respect has to be unconditional was just completely backwards from what I had believed. To me, respect has to be earned. The love can be unconditional, but the respect has to be earned. But as Ephesians points out, the wife needs to be loved and the husband needs to be respected. And of course, in essence, I think, oh yeah, I respect him. But no, on the day-to-day where we were at then, I was not respecting him. I did not admire him at all. And I had really lost faith in who he was in a lot of different areas.
It was tough to respect me when you didn't feel.
Yes, I did not feel.
Yeah. You didn't feel respectful for
Yes.
me because of the things that perhaps I was dropping the ball on.
Yes. So the key here is whether I felt that I respect him or not, or could respect him or not, I needed to show by my words, by my actions, that I did respect him. Now you're sitting here saying, okay, how in the world can you do that? If we do not feel this, how can we show it? That just has to do with acting in faith. Yes, it is good. Thank you. Believing that he is what he's not actually demonstrating to us, believing the best of him, believing the way God thinks about him rather than what we believe ourselves and what we see. And a lot of that for me had to come with just changing my mind, being able to start speaking those words even though I wasn't feeling them, actually using them as affirmations or confessions in the morning. And the more that I would speak those things and hear myself saying them, even to myself, helped me to believe it. And I really believe that love and respect is just a decision that you make. Feelings are not there. Feelings are fickle. They come and go. They change from moment to moment. How many of you can see that? How many of you agree with that? Yes, definitely. Feelings are just crazy, and you cannot base reality on what you were feeling right then. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate those hearts. So basically, I had to change my mind, change my attitude, change my speech, change my actions. The actions are the hardest to break. Absolutely the hardest to break. We have certain paths that we go on that are automatic. When we see something or hear something, our response is so automatic that we forget to stop ourselves. No, that is not what I believe about him. I'm not going to say that, and move on to say something different. It's a funny thing. Because I'm a doer, I tend to speak first and think later. And that was a very hard thing for me in marriage, really still is. I still speak first, problem solve first, and then later on think about what I just said. So that's not always the best thing to do. But accepting your husband as he is, accepting him and speaking about him in faith will make your mind change, which will cause your speech and your actions to change as well. So it's all just a cycle right there, a good cycle.
And it doesn't mean that the underlying issues that are prompting these things have to be swept under the carpet. No.
That's right.
It's the way that we talk about them and the way we deal with it. But the problem is that we tend to just naturally, when we feel unloved, we respond back and
we react, we retort.
We retort in ways. And as Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you? Well, it doesn't. We've been in the crazy cycle too many times. So number one is to preempt that, learn better skills of how to avoid those things. And then number two is if you do get out of, your tongue does get out ahead of your better judgment.
Yes.
And you say those things, and we all do that as well when we're under pressure. Hopefully we learn some skills when we gain greater understanding of this, that the other spouse can hopefully try and put up a check right there to keep that crazy cycle from proceeding. So I walk in someday and I'm just in a business mind mode. I'm not even thinking about it. Let's just say it's not even unintentional. It doesn't make any difference. Gail's looking for something and I say something that just comes across as demeaning, certainly unloving in a way. And all of a sudden, she's now got a choice. She can just immediately blurt something back that just zings me, or we can try and stop the cycle from devolving. And it generally comes down to a question, and people phrase this in different ways depending on how you like it, how it comes across. But essentially, we use this on ourselves. We just say, did you mean for that to come across as unloving? Or did you mean to be disrespectful? Or that sounded unloving or disrespectful?
And what do I do if you say yes?
Well, then we need a spanking. But if it comes across, it gives the person the chance to just say, okay, all right, push pause right now. Let's have a do-over here. Let me rephrase that. Catch my breath. And it still may have a little bit of zing to it, but it gives the person an opportunity to think about this, and let's not go to that place that we've been to too many times before. And we're able to clarify, and that's the way that we handle it.
And I still have a choice whether to take it that way or whether to say, okay, I'm going to think about this situation with grace. I'm going to think about him with grace. I need grace sometimes when I speak in a way I shouldn't. And so I just choose to say, that's not what he meant.
Yeah.
It's not that you're just pushing off the comment. You're just looking at his heart and going, wait a minute. He's a good man. He loves me. He didn't mean for it to come across like that. And so I'm able to forgive and move on from that. And that is a much better way of handling it.
And I know you mentioned this earlier. I'll just interject it right now. Just as we all know, I don't have to go into too much detail, but as we all know, sometimes the problem is not really the problem.
Oh, yeah.
So, we pop off with something, and it's not really that I'm trying to be unloving or whatever. I'm bothered about something. And if we have just a little bit of grace, as you were talking about, we can just say, okay, are you all right?
Mm-hmm.
And to really be able to say, I know that this really isn't the problem. There's something else that must be bothering you. And that helps us.
And this is probably off the subject a little bit, but we did talk about, with kids being other-centered, teaching them how to grow up so they're not just thinking of themselves. In a marriage, it's the same thing. Okay, how about you're at the grocery store and the gal who's checking you out is just slamming down each piece and just has a scowl on her face, doesn't greet you, doesn't talk. We can be upset. My gosh, I'm paying them good money for this. I need to be treated well in this customer service industry. Or we can think, hey, I wonder what's going on in her life.
Compassion.
And yes, a compassion, even though we don't know. And sometimes you can even say, how's your day going? And you know what? Something like that will change a person because all of a sudden you care.
Yeah.
You're not caring just about yourself and how you're being treated. You're caring about somebody else. And so that's the same thing with, my husband, when he comes home, I got to think, okay, he is still in work mode. I'm not one of his employees, even though he treated me like that. But let's just get him down into husband mode. How can I warm up to him and be sweet to him so that he remembers now that he's home and I'm his wife, not his employee? That's just part of giving that grace thinking. Yep. And we all want to have that grace thinking from others. So we need to be able to dish that out to other people and think well of them. Yep. One of the things, I will put several resources in, several links in my post on YouTube. When I put this, I should do that later today. I will take this Periscope, put it on YouTube under Mentoring Moments for Moms. All of our scopes are there by topics. You can pick and choose what you want to watch. But this is a personal weekly inventory, which my husband developed on the book. And you may have even gotten this out of love and respect. Regarding myself, ask myself this question. As a wife, did I react disrespectfully because I felt unloved? Am I afraid to say that felt unloving? Did I come across by being disrespectful to you? So it's several questions regarding yourself, regarding your spouse, even regarding God. And so I will put a link to this so you can get that personal weekly inventory, which will help you in your relationship with your husband. I'll also put links to the book, Love and Respect, which I recommend. And as highly as the book, Love and Respect, I also want to recommend For Women Only by Shanti Feldhahn and For Men Only. Those are books we just feel like are big eye openers. Not quite as technical, not quite as long as Love and Respect, but Shanti actually wrote her books after hearing Emerson Eggerichs speak on Love and Respect. So what she did was take it into the practical areas. And that, again, it just opens wide up all kinds of areas that you may not think about your spouse. So I highly recommend that you look at those. If you have more questions about what we talked about, please email me. My email's in the profile. Let me know. Let me know what else you want to hear more on, of course. Thanks for sharing. No problem. We all need this reminder. It's good for me today to hear this again, definitely. As far as next week goes, there's a few more topics I want to hit on marriage. So we'll be doing that. And then after that, my plans are to get into talking about your preteens and how to start preparing them for adolescence. And that's something that I will definitely have Kirby on for, because he has lots of information, lots of suggestions as to how you approach that. Just hadn't really thought about sharing that. And of course, one of you viewers wrote in and said, hey, I need help with this. Can you answer these questions? How do I proceed? So that will be some great information that I can share with all of you. So hope you're having a great day. And I just want to encourage you again to just think some more on this topic of love and respect. Maybe watch the video again so that you can get this into your heart. And maybe check out the book links too, because it will help you in your marriage relationship. And we have made it 38 years. 38. It hasn't been easy though all the time, but these are the things that as we share, we hope we can give you a leg up and you can skip over the problem things that we did so that you can wind up having the kind of relationship that we have at this point.
I've had a good marriage. I'm not sure about you, but...
Anyway, we appreciate all of you. Thank you again for following us. Please tell others about Mentoring Moments for Moms, and we will see you soon.
See you, everybody.
Bye.